Your friend has got a lot to share.
And welcome to another edition of Radio Friends. Again, I'm Steve Parker, and it is that's the 8th of December. Holy cow. Month is whipping along. We've already had quite a few people sign in. So let's go around the Zoom room as it is right now. We got Ron Pell here. Ted Daliku is here. Tracy, Dave Overson, John Duke Landry is here. Bob Craig is here. Lee Gordon, Bob Marks, Pete Salat is here. There's Dude Walker. And I think we've got just about everybody. Cover everybody?
Dave Overson.
Yeah, I got Dave. Sometimes I have to say it more than once because Dave might not know that he's here. All right.
Mention Ron? Did you mention Ron?
Ron,
Dave.
yeah, sure. Always do. I can't get away without mentioning Ron.
Did you mention Lee?
And we do have Lee. I think you worked with Dude Walker, right?
We worked together at WPOP in 1974. He wasn't Dude Walker then, but
That's right. It was Lee. I was still Tom Collins at the time.
that's right.
And I'm putting in my picture here because the video I had earlier was pretty bad. So I'm just got the picture of me in a booth somewhere. I just wanted to stop in. I don't want to take over the whole thing here, but I've only had about 10 minutes before I have to go to a meeting. And I don't know if everybody knew that Bob Paiva has just passed.
No, really?
Yeah.
You know, Bob Paiva was responsible for playing our record All of My Life by Detroit Soul back in 1967. He had a thing for our band. He really loved us, and he got it started. And he hired us for the all-family outings and Riverside Park and all of that. So we credit Bob Paiva quite a bit for our success.
Oh, that's great to hear. I don't have any real details other than he passed apparently at 82 years, and I think in Virginia, and I'm sure more will be coming. But a lot of us remember T.J. Lambert and I were both hired by Bob to be at POP, and he was very instrumental in my early. I was still in high school when I first met him, and he followed me through the Connecticut School of Broadcasting and mentored me, and him and Frank Holler, and he was very instrumental in me having some success in radio. So I just wanted to pass on that unfortunately he's passed on.
Speaking of instrumental, his brother was the guitarist for many years with the Four Seasons.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Wow.
And I think dude, you'd mentioned that, and while you're mentioning Connecticut School of Broadcasting, for people that have gone there anywhere since they started, Jimmy Robinson and myself and some other people are trying to put together the 60th anniversary of CSB. So maybe if you could pass along your info, dude, we can connect with some of the guys that got started over there, and maybe just some quick happy anniversaries or maybe a short sit down type of interview. So if you know anyone,
great idea. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people never really got into radio. I doubt there's anybody in my so-called class that's still broadcasting, but I'd still like to know where some of them are, what they ended up doing instead of radio. So it'll be fun to hear.
Yeah, those stories must be great. I think we always joke with Dick Robinson about Ron Pell. I think has the line about how many different stations.
I worked at stations all over Connecticut. Shell stations, Exxon stations, Sunoco stations.
Bus station.
Yeah, I was doing an afternoon drive at Connecticut Limousine. I think that's Walt Pinto's line.
That's a good one. I like that one, Tracy.
Yeah, I remember. Now, what were the years that Bob Paiva was running the show over there at POP?
Lee, do you remember? You probably remember years better than I do.
Well, I got there in early 74 and he was gone by then.
Okay.
I don't recall that if I've ever actually met him in person. I had communicated with him via email, but I think he was there until Merv took over, which would be what, 72, 73, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he hired me as an intern in 73. So by 74, I had gone to Memphis. So and I was no longer Tom Collins at that point. So yeah, that would be when he left. I guess he was early days. He was around in the early 60s, as music director, and I think he even jocked for a little while at POP.
Yeah, he was according to something that I read, he would kind of do all the fill-in shifts when when all the married guys wanted holidays off, he would do all their holiday shifts and stuff like that. But I want to say he was there as early as like 59, but I might be off on that.
You know who would probably know would be Marissa Wynn, Miss Fox from she would probably know.
Ed Bruder would know
Ed
too.
Bruder, yeah. Ed Bruder knows everything.
And where's Ed when we need him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Miss Fox was on with what? Woody, right? Woody Roberts.
Mhm.
Yep.
I can tell you that I got to know. By the way, Dude, I've never met Dude Walker. You were gone from POP when I got there in late 74. But I did get to meet Bob Piva. And as a matter of fact, he wound up going to Harrisburg. And I believe at some radio station in Harrisburg. Didn't stay there too long. But being in Philly, as I still am, I remember he came down to visit me one time. He was so relieved to get out of Harrisburg. I think he may have been between jobs. And I know how much he agonized over the fact that Harrisburg offered nothing to him and his taste in either music or books or culture or movies or theater or whatever. Money, whatever. So we spent some time together. He's a very delightful guy, very knowledgeable guy about a lot of different things. So I'm sorry to hear of his passing. But,
well, Bob, I'm sorry we never actually met, but if you knew how many times I listened to you on Bootleg Top 40, that one little segment when you're playing Joni Mitchell and then into Mr. Big Stuff,
there you go.
To me, that was magical times to listen to other jocks. Me and Joe Cipriano, we found out we both crafted our patter on those discs because we had nothing else to go by. There was no national air check stuff going on. And we listened to it over and over and over again. And apparently we both ripped off the same jokes.
By the way, speaking of Mr. Big Stuff, I happened to see in the obit about a week and a half ago that Jeannie Knight passed away. There was actually an extensive obit about her, but she had really only one possible hit records. Jeannie Knight, Mr. Big Stuff.
Mr. Big Stuff.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
It was the biggest record for Stax, according to what I was reading in the trades.
Really?
That right?
Well, you could really do numbers on that title too on the air.
Speaking of
Never
Joe
mind.
Cipriano,
Never mind. I'm the paragon of virtue. I shouldn't even be.
Hey guys, I want to tell you something. Somebody posted on Facebook a WDRC October 1967 survey, and it showed Detroit Soul All of My Life at number 6. At number 5 was
Mr. Big Stuff.
No.
Tighter.
Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison.
Wow.
So we're right behind Van Morrison that month. I never knew we made a Big D survey. I know we were all over POP.
well,
It was a good record. Very good record. Matter of fact, I think I still have a copy of it downstairs in my 45 collection.
Can I tell you, Bob, that they have sold, the original copies have sold for as much as $600 something?
I might even have a DJ copy. Was there such a thing as a DJ copy of that?
I don't think so. No, I don't think Music Town Records made that available.
No.
The ones with the holes drilled in the office center stuff, things. The drill
Yeah.
holes are all promotional DJ copies. Not
My
for-
entire record collection had those.
Mine too.
it was so hard to give them as Christmas presents to my friends.
I used to give them out at Halloween.
Tie the little ribbon, tie a bow through the little hole. Yeah,
Hang it
the
on the
holes.
tree.
I can tie a ribbon on it.
By the way,
All right.
Tracy, getting back to your comments about the record collections, did you know that the original promotion copies, the white labeled promotion copies of recordings, whether they're albums or singles, have a lot more value to them because apparently most of those were first pressings. And to serious record collectors, they have a greater value, a greater resale value, a greater collectible value.
And most of these Motown, a lot of the stuff that was in the boxes, I only went through a few of them, were like Motown promos. And of course, they were mono back in the day. I remember when they started doing like Atlantic green on one side and red and white on the other, so you could distinguish the stereo versus mono. Oh, yeah. I used to have a ton of that stuff here. I sold off all my vinyl back in 2009, unfortunately. And I had a ton of promotional 45s going back to the 60s.
By the way, the promotional and the mono copies of Motown were so much better than the stereo copies of them. The stereo copies were weak and they just had no presence to them. As a great example, Quicksand with Martha and the Vandellas. And if you play the single, the 45 of that, it was so great to hear it on the air. And if you went to play the stereo, especially out of the album, the production was so weak that it was just very thin. Same thing with Bobby Darin's Back the Knife.
The stereo mixes were an afterthought. I think it was Berry Gordy's brother that was in there mixing those in the night. They really didn't care. I mean, Berry Gordy used to have a little transistor radio speaker on his desk, and they'd sit around to see what it'd sound like on an AM radio in a car. Mm-hmm. So they really, again, the stereo mixes of all that Motown stuff are really afterthoughts, not meant to be really of any importance.
That was the great way to do radio production as well. You know,
yeah, we had a little tiny speaker in the POP production room.
Yeah.
We'd finish something and we'd say, well, it sounds good on the speakers in here. Mm-hmm. Let's see what it's going to sound like on the radio. And we had this crappy little tinny speaker.
Hey, guys, I'm going to have to go. I apologize, but I did want to jump in and mention about Bob Paiva. Hopefully next week or weeks coming up, we'll have more time together. Have a good chat. See ya.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.
Nice to meet you, dude.
Dude Walker. All right.
Yeah, he's partially responsible for Joe Cipriano being Joe Cipriano because Dude was Tom Collins on POP, and Joe was Tom Collins in Waterbury when Charlie hired him at DRC, and he couldn't come to the market and use the same name. And Joe's real name is actually Dave Cipriano, so he became Dave Donovan at DRC, and then they were both working in Washington, and I think Dude was Dude by then, but Joe said, "Hey, what the hell? I'm going to use my real last name," but for some reason decided to be Joe rather than Dave.
What does Dude do now? We didn't have a chance to find out what he's doing now.
He's doing voiceover and he's an actor. He's been on some network TV stuff and some movies.
I remembered him as Tom Collins. I didn't remember Dude Walker at all. And
yeah,
I don't think I had met him maybe more than once casually time I was there. But
yeah, well, when I got to POP, to do middays, he was doing afternoons.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, he had started just a short time. Dick Springfield, that's right. He was working there doing part-time or something, but I think Chuck Bennett was doing the afternoons and Dick, I think, promoted him to full-time afternoon. And when I came in to do middays, he was doing afternoons. I was doing middays, and Greaseman was the morning guy.
Yeah, I got a question for you. When POP transitioned to news, I guess that was what, 74, 75?
78.
Oh,
was that late? 78? I thought it was earlier than that.
No, it was 75. You're right.
July 75.
Yeah, 75.
Because when I came to the market I remember I came to the market in 73. I moved to Connecticut, but how did they determine who was going to be on the air? I mean, obviously the DJs, I guess you all got fired or whatnot, whatever happened. But I'm thinking about Rob Branham. How did Rob Branham get hired to do middays?
Yeah, Charlie Steiner. Well, we had a 5-man news department. Charlie Steiner was the news director, and we had a full staff of news people, and Charlie hired additional people for the all news.
Was Rob working there then?
Well, I think Charlie hired Rob, or maybe when Charlie left, I'm thinking, did Rad Berkey take over for him as news director? Either Charlie or Rad would have hired Rob. Rob did not spend that much time on the air before he
transitioned to sales.
Before he transitioned to where the real money was. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, That damn money gets in the way all the time.
Yeah.
All right, let's because we're a few minutes into this now, we've had some changes. Let me just go around the room real quick on this edition of Radio Friends again on the 8th of December. And if I miss anybody, scream out because I'm just going off of my board here. Bob Marks, Pete Salantz over there. We got Hal Neller, Jim Harrington, Chuck Martin. In fact, I was just looking for Chuck when Chuck popped on. Tracy Carmen here, Dave Overson, John the Duke Landry, Bob Marks, and I got Bob Craig right here. I'm Steve Parker. Dude Walker had to take off for another appointment, but hopefully he'll be back with us again. And
Jim Harrington.
Oh, where'd he go? Wait a minute. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I see. Oh, Jim's in the dark there. Yes, there he is. I see Jim.
I'm always in the dark.
He's in the Pirates cap
for
over
years.
There.
He's in the cave.
Yeah, so now I think we got it. And yeah, and again, our thoughts.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Ron Pell. Oh, wait. Happy birthday, Ron.
Yes,
Steve.
happy birthday, Ron.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Oh,
Can we
It was
all
2
sing
days
happy birthday to Ron?
No,
no.
please don't. Please don't ruin. Let's not ruin it. That was 2 days ago. Ancient history.
Oh, yeah. Flies right by. Oh,
Yeah, what have you done for us lately, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh my God. And the other thing, Tracy, maybe you want to know, apparently there's a lot of stuff that's flying off the out of the doors of the original home base here in Newington of the American Radio Relay League. And I talked to John Ellsworth, and he's trying to get down there and save some of that stuff. So talk about stuff that, I mean, historic stuff. And I think I should send it along to all of you guys. John Doolittle basically sent along his dad's background. Franklin Doolittle Radio Corporation, sent along his background with ham radio, which was very extensive before he ever got into this other kind of radio that he liked to do. But the ship to shore and all this stuff he was doing. But anyways, apparently the people that are running the American Radio Relay League don't have any concept or interest in some of its historic value. I hear there may be one person left there, and that person may be leaving. So maybe Tracy, keep that in the back of your mind, or anybody else who's interested in that.
Absolutely. No, thank you for the information. If you have any other, we'll talk after the Zoom call, maybe figure it out. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Hal, what's going on with you?
Oh, not too much. Russ Oasis keeps sending me this link. I came on once, I don't know, a few months ago.
We still talk about it, Hal. We're still talking about that appearance. It's amazing.
I know. Isn't that something? And is that Chuck Martin from California in there?
That's
How
my
you doing,
brother, Hal Neller. That's my brother, Hal Neller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi,
There's a long story behind that one.
Yeah. That's my brother, Hal.
Yeah.
And I see my buddy Pete Salant over there talk about birthdays.
Hello, Chuck. Yeah, well, our birthdays are so close.
Yeah, we celebrate that birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
It's coming up next month.
Oh, it's a promo for the upcoming birthdays.
Coming
up next
Chuck
month.
is a lot. Chuck's a lot younger than I am.
Oh boy, it's going to be a big one for me. I'm going to be the big 8-0 in another day. In days, I'm going to be 80. You know,
wow, you look good, Chuck.
10 years behind you.
And then it was kind of funny because when I was at DRC, the big philosophy at the time was if you go over 29 into 30, you're part of that bad generation. So now with 80 years old, I'm ready to get a cane and a walker.
Oh, no.
You're a tall generation.
I was 82 months ago, Chuck, and I'm playing racquetball yesterday. So
all right, Ted.
Good for you, Ted. Good for you, Ted.
You're an inspiration.
You look great, man. You look great.
You're an inspiration.
You can do it. You know, you just got to think through it.
Hey, look at Ron Pell. I mean, Ron Pell is what is he? 83 now, and Ron just looks fantastic.
75, but who's counting?
Great.
You know what? I
I
was in the gym this morning. I did 2 hours of weights, and by the way, I suggest everybody go on Google and Google sarcopenia. If you Google sarcopenia, you'll start lifting weights the next day. Just Google it, sarcopenia, and you'll get scared and start lifting weights, which is everybody should do that.
How do you spell that?
Sounds like something I ordered at an Italian restaurant.
Sarcopenia. You don't want to get that. You don't want to get that dish.
Man, lift weights. I got into radio because the heaviest thing I was going to pick up was a record.
Yeah, well, I'm not a bodybuilder, but I get a good workout in. Anyway, I don't want to preach on
Just
that
the weight
stuff.
I lift.
You know, Ron, back
Pickleball's
in
the
day-
national pastime in Florida.
Yeah, it is.
Pickleball,
Back
yeah.
in the day at WDRC, Charlie asked me to join the Nautilus gym, which was over in East Hartford.
Yep.
Because do you recall that? They were a client.
Yep.
And they were offering a membership to somebody on the staff. And Charlie tapped me on the shoulder and said, Bob, I want you to go and do this. And I said, sure, I'll be glad to. So I worked out 5 days a week.
Wow.
After my shift, and I got into now that's not exactly weightlifting, but later on I got into weightlifting, and I've been doing it all my life. And I go to the gym 3 days a week, and I'm ready to
There you
go
go.
after this Zoom, and I feel great.
They call it resistance training now.
Yeah,
They don't call it weightlifting, resistance training, and it's very important. But Bob, that was like you were an early endorser. That's an endorsement deal.
That's right. Yeah, I did that. Yep. Yeah, Charlie called me Big D Surfer Boy. Although
right.
I never surfed, but that's what he called me. You know.
He surfed down the Connecticut River.
At the time, you could walk on the Connecticut River, much less.
Ron has been didn't you start it all, Ron, when Corson got you running around Bushnell Park or something? Isn't that when you started getting into the health thing?
Well, back in those days, this is in the late 70s, I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I was probably 220 pounds, and I just wasn't taking care of myself. And to his credit, I mean, look, there's a guy who was in shape. He was in shape all the time.
Absolutely.
And he came into my office one day and he said, and they had just made me local sales manager, and he said, "You got to cut that crap out." I said, "You got to take care of yourself. You want to live a life. You got to stop smoking. You got to eat right." And it just resonated with me. And then I started running. And then he'd come into my office some days. He'd say, "What are you doing at lunchtime?" I said, "Nothing. I got no plans today." He says, "We're going to go to the reservoir and run. Let's go." And and then I started bringing my running shoes. I would bring my stuff, and he got me into that. And then we go back to his house, take a shower, come back to the station, and he enjoyed the company. But he really honestly that changed my life. I lost 50 pounds, 40 pounds, and then we started running together regularly. And then we'd run the 10K. If you remember, the CBT had this thing called the mini marathon. Anybody remembers that in Bushnell Park?
Yep.
It was a 10K race, and I used to run with him and a guy named Ross Hollander. If anybody remembers that name.
Oh yeah.
Ross Hollander owned
Hartford Distributors.
Hartford Distributors, Budweiser distributor. And he was a good friend of Corson's. They were actually partners on some real estate deals. And I run with those guys. And then and anyway, then I went on. Then, of course, introduced me to guys at the reservoir, and they ran marathons, and the rest is history, as they say. But I owe him, listen, he was a crazy guy. He does do crazy, nutty things. But for me, anyway, he changed my life.
Ron, do you remember when Corson entered me into the Hartford 10K?
I think I do, Bob. As a matter of fact, because I ran that race, and that was, I want to say, 78 or 79 around that
something
time.
like that. Right around that time, I was doing the Nautilus. So he said, "We need somebody on the Big D staff who's in shape." And I was working out, but I had never run. I had never run more than a mile, and
Well, you did it. You finished, as I remember.
I did, yeah. And he met me about 100 yards from the finish line, and I could barely move my legs. I mean, I was so beat. And he's over there. "Come on, I want you to sprint to the end. Sprint to the end. Come on, come on. You can do it. You can do it." And I did. I sprinted to the end, but like for the next 2 weeks, I felt like my legs had polio.
Yeah.
Well,
I was not in shape for that.
He met. I did a canoe race on the Farmington River that was supposed to be a celebrity canoe race, and then there were like 10 or 12 canoes that were two-man canoes, a tandem race. And it was I was told that it was going to be a 2-mile race up the Connecticut River. I'd never paddled a canoe before. This is 74, 75, and never paddled a canoe. But I figured, okay, the guy that I'm with has been on racing before, so we can do this. And we had WDRC was on the side of the canoe. They put letters on there, and I had the shirt on and stuff. And I was up in the front, and the guy behind me, David Chase was the name of the guy. Not the David Chase, but another David Chase. was the name of the guy behind me. And we paddle along, and I get down there for the race day. We did a practice session. On race day, they tell me, oh, no, there is no 2-mile race. This is an 11-mile race.
Oh, my goodness.
On the Connecticut River, on the Farmington River, and going up through the gorge and stuff like that. He said, so, there's no choice. The canoe's all ready. You got to do it. So I paddled up the Farmington River, and I was like you, Bob. I was just absolutely wiped out by the end of this thing. I could barely move my arms and my shoulders. And at the time, I'd been playing racquetball and going to the gym. I thought that was good. This is nothing compared to doing this thing. And Dick Corson was there. Dick and his wife was there, cheering me on at the finish line. Had a bottle of champagne ready to finish the race, and we had finished 5 out of 12. He said, "Oh, that's pretty good." I said, "I've never battled before." I think the guy behind me was doing most of the work, and it was incredible. So he had those moments where he was really wanted to be sociable and wanted to be real, and then
he had his moments, Ted. Absolutely, he had his moments.
Yeah. And you never knew when the switch was going to go off, and all of a sudden he was in a different direction. I think.
Unfortunately, it wasn't during contract negotiations.
No,
that is for sure, Jim. I can tell you that firsthand.
Well, that's one of the things that got him really angry at me when he told me at the time. He had said way back, well, if you beat Bob Steele in the morning, then I'll double your salary. Right? You remember that, Ron? I don't think you would.
And Bob Steele only had a 50 share.
Yeah, right. He only had a 50 share. Well, in our demographic, the whatever it was, 18 to 34 or 18 to 35.
Well, yeah, you probably did beat him.
Yeah. I beat him not only in that demographic, but Corson said, "Well, yeah, but you were AM and FM. That's 2 stations. It doesn't count."
That's cool. Yeah. A slight Corson there.
That's Corson.
Hey, Steve, remember when we did the Kahlua Cup?
Ron, I've been waiting for that to come up, and if you didn't, I would have. That was I never sailed a boat before in my life.
Kahlua was a big brand, and still is probably. And they had this race down the Connecticut River in a little boat called the Sunfish. And Steve did it with his girlfriend Darlene at the time, wasn't it, Darlene?
Yep.
And I did it with a guy named Paul Gilmore, as everybody knew his name was Roscoe on the air.
Yep.
And Roscoe and I partnered up. And like you guys, I don't. What do I know about sailing? I don't know. I remember I pulled the dagger board up and I said, "What is this?" And, I had no idea, but we did that, and that was a pretty
trade
bad
for your
lunch. We had to go
Yeah.
We had to go from Hartford, to, or ideally to the Sound, Old Saybrook. And we got as far, Steve. How far did we get? We didn't get the whole way.
Somewhere in Haddam, because then we had a sleepover.
Right.
Sleepover in a tent that night somewhere in a
yes,
park somewhere.
Remember that?
Oh, all I know is when I got stuck underneath the Middletown Portland Bridge, and everybody left, and I was by myself going around in circles.
And there were 40 boats in that race.
Yeah. I'm going in circles like this. I'm like, the guy comes over to me and he's yelling, "Tack, tack," and I'm going,
"How was that?"
Anything about tack? It goes side to side. I'm like, oh.
We had no clue. I think I finished 39th. I mean, I didn't finish. I ended up like Steve and I. We ended up at Middle Haddam or Haddam Neck. There's an island there.
Haddam Neck, yeah.
We're done.
And that's as far as we got. And I said, "Get me home. I'm done with this."
Well, did you get to Gillette Castle? Did you pass that?
Right around a little before there.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I was in it was because PM Magazine wanted a presence in there, and all of us, they didn't want to go past old Wethersfield. So as a result, I was in the PM Magazine thing because they wanted to keep the boat in the race. And I knew you were going, Ron. So I said, "Oh, this will be something to remember." I said, "Okay."
Well, then the following year, Rob comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to do that race again." I said, "I don't know." He says, "No, we can do it. We can do it. Really, you can do it with me. I'll do it with you. We'll do it." I said, "Okay, Rob, we'll do it again." It was, you know how it is. After a while, you forget these bad experiences that are so bad. And we did it the second year, and I think it was worse the second year. Anyway, that was something.
I just remember that when Rob had that full wetsuit in his office, and I put on the entire wetsuit, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get my dad. I go by my dad's office, and I just stop for a second, and I wave to him and say, "How you doing, Dad?" And I keep walking, and he goes, "Stephen." And I turned around and I went back. And he was holding an entire swim mask over his head. And he goes, "You'll need this." He had that in his
Like
desk.
Charlie.
Your father had a lot of things in his desk. He used to have these little toy soldiers.
Oh yeah.
And he'd be sitting there, and I remember we had a guy come in, and I would usually sit next to the person that was that's talking to your dad.
Was
And
that
sometimes
Rex,
I would
was
just
that Rex Smith? I think, wasn't it Rex the singer? And it was he was like a heartthrob guy.
Yeah, I don't
him.
remember with so many people. I mean, we've done this numerous times, but you sit there, then I would just slide back. So I almost be behind the person talking to your father. And then your father would bring out the toy soldiers and start, have a little battle with them. And I'm sitting there looking at them. And then I would make a face and try to crack up your dad, which was nearly impossible. And then your father would do something and I would easily crack up. It was an experience. Put it that way.
I remember the toy soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It was a
remember
game of strategy.
Yeah, well, one time he had some guy in there. I want to say his last name was Rex Smith or something. He had like one hit.
You take my breath away or something like that.
That was it. Yeah.
And he was on a Love Boat, and he's sitting there very braggadocious on my dad's couch, going on and on about all these things accomplished to my dad. While he's talking, my dad reaches in, gets the toy soldier, puts him out in the center of the desk, and he takes one of those New Year's things that you blow out, and he knocked the soldier over. And he knocks the soldier over. And this kid stops talking and he looks at him. And my father just points at the soldier and goes, "Bob Steele." And that was all. This poor kid had no idea, but it was kind of like how impressed my dad was.
Hey, since it's the holiday season, I'm wondering if I can share 10 seconds of. It's a little blasphemous since you guys are mostly DRC, but I want to share this, and I think it might come through. Wait here, let me get it up. Oops, I mean get the volume up a little bit. Here we go.
Merry, Merry Christmas, WPOP.
Did that work?
It sounds like the
Here's an up-tempo one.
It sounds like the RKO jingle they used to have in the book.
WPOP, $1 Million Weekend.
Yeah, Johnny Man, Sue Allen on lead. Yeah,
I remember those.
Tracy, those are the real singers, right?
Christmas.
Yeah, those are the Johnny Man singers. Sue Allen sang the lead on that stuff, and gee, I'm surprised you don't have the shitbound cut on there.
I do. I'm just not going to play it.
Come on.
You may have given it to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny, and that kind of segues nicely into what John Duke Landry was. Now Duke was a Bob Craig name, right?
Yes.
Yep, Bob.
I'm responsible for that, and we're still talking to this very day.
And you had mentioned about some of the old slogans and the old jingles and stuff. I guess like even now there's a lot of jingles aren't even. They're just a quick music signature or something. It's not even a jingle, but yeah. John brought up some interesting ones. What were some of the ones you brought up, John?
Well, I remember listening to the radio or watching TV, and it was always like there was a TV show that was on Friday nights. It was brought to you by Pall Mall cigarettes. Outstanding, and they are mild. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Or use Kent's. Kent cigarettes. They're the best. How about you can trust your car with the man with the star, Texaco.
The big bright Texaco star.
I'd select motor oil and no-nox gasoline.
Yeah.
I'd rather fight than switch.
There you go.
Here's a good one. Here's a good one for you. Quiz. Who was the company that used the phrase, the quality goes in before the name goes on?
Yeah.
GE?
No, you're close.
Westinghouse.
Westinghouse.
Oh,
Very close.
Motorola or Quasar?
RCA?
No, getting closer.
Frigidaire?
No. It was mostly audio that they worked with.
Zenith?
What?
Zenith?
Quality goes
Zenith.
in.
Zenith. Yes.
It was Zenith. All right. What do I win,
Quality
Bob?
goes in before-
Tom Waits uses that.
You
Tom
want
Waits
the
uses
official.
that.
You won the official WDRC album, the one with all the jocks on the front of the billboard.
I won. Wow.
If you're familiar with Tom Waits, he has a song called "Step Right Up." If you're not familiar with it, Google it and find it, because it's the kind of thing that people in our business would eat up. But it's all about advertising cliches, and the quality goes in before the name goes on is one of the lyrics that he has included. My favorite line in that song. It's new, it's improved, it's old fashioned.
Step Right Up. Is that the name of the song?
Step Right Up.
Step Right Up. Okay.
Step Right Up.
Yeah, I remember doing an outtakes for the Christmas party at Big D, and I got a Stan Freberg's album, and it was called "Deck the Halls with Advertising." La 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 la. Yeah, and I put together these whole different outtakes, incorporated in with the jingles, and I can't find that copy. I wish I.
That was a Stan Freberg Green Christmas.
Yes, Green Christmas. Right, exactly.
When I was at
he was
SPD in Toledo, I remember playing Stan Freberg bits, and I don't know if he was sending them out or if they were being franchised out to other stations or sold at little pieces, but they were like 2 or 3 minute bits from Stan Freberg, and we would play one almost every day or every other day or once a week, and they were just those comic bits and done around commercials and around products or just around weather, anything. Just Stan Freberg and his group, his creative group, doing crazy stuff, and they were
he was really good.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh yeah.
There was those old Von Meter ones too.
Yeah, there were Von Meter ones also.
Yeah.
Let me say this about that.
Yeah.
He lost his fame in an instant.
Just like that. That's
60
right.
years ago, this last week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember
It's a question to throw out there. Why do broadcasters today still use the term tape? As in, we taped this interview last night, or shouldn't it record with tape? Nobody records with tape anymore. How come broadcasters still use that phrase?
I videotaped him or whatever.
They say a lot of times they'll say they filmed this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't use film anymore either.
No, that's the one thing that we Tom Peterson and I were teaching the students at CSB is it's not film is a processing process that you have to process the film and do that. So we tell them, you're either videotaping or you're recording. And so we use the word recording that kind of is very generic. And but everyone go, I film the picture, and,
We should dial somebody up and find out what the deal is.
Well, yeah. Why? What's the story with dial? I mean, why do people say that? Dial up. Say dial. Nobody dials.
What's the alternative, Bob?
Punch the buttons.
They all are cart machines from the old days with cart numbers for the commercials. All the automation systems today all use cart numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what
Anybody under about 50 doesn't know what a cart is.
Oh,
That's right.
There was one time, Dave, you might be interested in this. This lasted for about 16 minutes in radio. Probably, I want to say maybe around 1960, late 50s, early 60s, when radio was flirting with automation. And some radio stations actually had, I forget who the company was, I don't recall, but they had this machine that had a wide spool of tape, regular tape that we would record on quarter-inch tape. And it would hold probably about 100 elements to it. And you would record whatever you wanted to on there, probably commercials, because this was probably right before carts came in, like around 1950.
McKenzie. Right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game shows use them too. Like the dings, the dongs, and all that stuff.
I only saw that like maybe once or twice on a radio station, but it lasted. It had a very, very short life to it. I actually heard a broadcaster the other day say, "News now is coming across the wire." What the hell is a wire?
AP machine.
Yeah. Well, stations don't use the teletype sound effect anymore. Because that was DRC's big big claim to fame of having the teletype machine during the newscasts.
Didn't Winds use it till like just a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's the same thing with KYW here in Philly, the all news station. They dumped that about a year or two ago. But it was great identity because I guess back in the days when you were tuning a radio dial, that was a great way to identify the radio station. But now in digital age, you just punch in the number and there it is. So it really has no promotional value to the station.
Added excitement to the news for the newscast, especially like a bulletin or something that, big and here behind.
But everything is breaking news. A grass fire would be breaking news today.
Yeah.
Well, that teletype on DRC was with the echo on it, a little bit of echo on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really, it stood out. It really did. When the news was coming on at DRC and Walt Dibble was ready to go on. Here it in the boom. It's 10 o'clock on WDRC AM and FM. But I mean, that really got your attention, particularly if you were in the car. I mean,
what else I loved about the news?
It's been 50 years since they've used teletypes like that. They switched to dot matrix printers a good 50 years ago, and people still identify that sound with the news.
At WDRC, when Walt would finish before he finished, you would hear the sounder going, repeating the big story.
You got it, Bob. You got it. That's a good one, Bob. I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
Remember the news bulletin sounder? That boy.
I've got all that stuff on tape here. I should throw it online for you guys.
The news in the making, the moment it's breaking.
When they used the intro, remember on the Pam's jingle, the one and only WDRC in Hartford, time for Ear Witness News.
Ear Witness
little
News.
sounder would come in. Then the jock would, give the intro like it's 47 degrees, and they would announce the story. Then they would have a big bell chime, and eventually led to the news that was being delivered. And like we just said, repeating the big story, and it would go out with that musical sound from the Pam's jingle. That was a very exciting newscast to do. It was just
the guy who did the best newscast was Lon Landis. Landis had such a great voice, and he would enter his news.
You ever see Lon
Landis?
You ever see him do a newscast? You ever see him do a newscast?
Yeah.
You ever see him do a newscast? Well, Lon was animated. At least he was. He was really into it.
Somebody mentioned Walt Dibble, and Walt Dibble's son, as you probably all know, was Rob Dibble, who was one of the best relief pitchers in baseball in the 90s, one of the nasty boys. And of course, he used to complain about Walt Dibble, because he'd have to leave because he had to get his son to Little League. He said, he's always bringing his son to Little League baseball. What the hell is that all about?
Well,
one of the best,
the World Series, right?
One of the best.
Another news guy that was very automated was Chuck Krause. He would jump up and down every time.
Yeah. One of the stories.
Lon was so involved with his news stories that at times he would actually pound the table. Yeah. But I had to do a lot of times I had to do a live spot in his newscast, and sometimes I could barely get through it. I would just crack up. I mean, the guy, he was impossible to break up.
He'd be bouncing in his seat.
Before he went in. I
told you guys once before what I did one time. Jim English had every imaginable item that you could think of in his office. And Lon was doing this newscast, and I said to myself, God, if this doesn't break him up, nothing will. And he was reading this newscast, and I walked in and I grabbed the dildo from Jimmy English's office, and I gave it to him, and he just took it and he started waving it around and continued on without breaking a stride, and did the rest of the day. I said, that's it, I give up.
He would do a throat spray before he started his newscast so he could get really power up. And it was 2 shots, bomb, and then Lon Landis would sign on. And I remember one line that he did one time when there was some kind of animal on I-84, and he comes on and goes, "There's a moose loose in Hartford." And he goes on. the story. And he's jumping up and down with the moose loose on I-84.
I used to love watching Dick McDonough do his show. He used to attack the microphone.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
Yep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
doing a talk up, he would do it too. And if he hit the talk up, he'd go, "Oh!"
Yeah, you're right, Bob. He'd have to switch the mic like that. Boom, and the chair would go like that. He'd go back.
Right, exactly.
Man, he was and hit the intro right smack on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, McDonough was I used to board for him, and we would both be, animated at times, and that added to the whole, I think, the feature of the Jock, because you're putting on a show for him and he's putting on a show for you. He had somebody to talk to, and with the combo, it was like dead.
Dave was really good at inserting the Sandy Beach laugh whenever I would do a contest or have some a very unusual contestant on the air, and I could always count on Dave putting Sandy Beach's laugh very low level underneath. Of course, that didn't help because I would break up.
Okay. One of the other things that when we used to come out of the newscast, we had another, when it happens in Hartford, you'll hear it first, where you heard this first. Then they go right into the music. I always loved that one. Did Carlo do those, or I don't know who, or did Lee Roberts do those?
Don't remember. It could have been Lee Roberts.
Yeah,
I have copies of all those, and while we're having this conversation, I'm editing all those, and I'm going to put them up online for you all to grab copies of if you want them.
Yeah, I probably have copies here, but
well,
good to have.
They're right at my fingertips. So while we're doing this,
that's good.
I'm editing them all. Yep.
If anybody has a copy of the Lee Roberts breaking up on WRKO,
I heard that live.
I have it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I have it as well, but I don't have it at my fingertips to play. That would be a good one to play at a future.
I heard him do it live.
Was that Bobby Cohen?
Yes, Bobby.
Yes, Robert Cohen. Yeah,
because he had so many different names.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned this previously, but when he was doing news on WFEA in Manchester, New Hampshire, he was Hammond Egger.
Hammond Egger. I worked with him at 3 radio stations, and sadly, he's in a care facility now.
Oh.
It's Parkinson's.
Parkinson's, yeah. And stuff. But Hal, we should have played that tape. I have that RKO tape in Martha's Vineyard when we were there in Martha's Vineyard. I should have had that tape over there because it is a crack up. It's almost as good as the one at CKLW with Chuck Williams, whatever. And he had that meltdown, and Bill Hennis had to come in the middle of the night and grab him up. I'm Chuck Williams, and I'm one of those big-time radio announcers. All you people out there listening, we have a big signal here at the Big 8, and I want to tell you, you can grow up to be like me. Hear my voice. I've got a big voice. And I mean, this went on for about 20 minutes until Hennis got into the station and towed his ass out. But it's incredible. But that Lee Roberts tape is almost it's right up there, right at the top. If you guys didn't hear that Lee Roberts on RKO.
Well, he did the open, WRKO 2020 news, and then something hit him in like the first story.
Yeah,
he laughs for 3 minutes.
Well, and
then he goes back to format. I think like we'll be back in whatever the format was. It was like the most amazing.
It was a Mexican guy, Jim. They were doing a story about taking something out of the streets, and the Mexican guy, I don't know, I call up and nobody do nothing. I do nothing. and the engineer prior to that, they taped together a bunch of the guys saying, and nobody do nothing, nobody do nothing, nobody do nothing. Lee Roberts comes in and he lost it. Then they're trying to go to the next story, and he starts to, and another news on the Big 8. Every single story, he could not regain his composure. I mean,
that guy, he was as flawless as you could possibly be when he was delivering the news. I never heard him boot a word in a newscast.
Yeah,
he was so good.
Good guy too.
Yeah.
And you say he's in a nursing facility?
Yeah, he is. He's up in New Hampshire, and he's in a rehab facility because he can't care for himself. It's
Oh,
really,
God bless us.
it's really, really progressed. I'm in touch with him every 3-4 months. We'll do something. But
His
it's
son
progressing.
is in radio too. His son is quite a star. Worked at Z100 among other places.
Wow.
I
Hey,
thought he
Chuck,
was in Baltimore.
Chuck, do you know if excuse me, Chuck, do you know if he has any? I know he's Parkinson's, but do you connect with him via email? Should we?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Why don't you try to when you get the Zoom out from Dave? Why don't you try to send that along? That might maybe even bring him around a little bit and keep him smiling, while he's going through all this stuff.
Good idea, Steve. Good idea.
We should send him a copy of this program.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
And maybe we should all wish him the best.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
A lot of good memories with Bob.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
he could use your prayers. Amen.
Well,
I'm Facebook friends with him, but I haven't seen him on Facebook in a while.
Well, definitely send our prayers out to him. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
hopefully, if you're getting a chance to listen to this, it's making you smile a bit, and it's good therapy.
Well, Bob Craig, you're bringing up all these old things. You make us men feel old. I know
We are.
I have an old birthday coming up, but man, have mercy on me, Bob.
You
Chuck,
haven't changed, Chuck. You're the
Chuck,
same.
don't feel so badly. I'll be the big 80 next April. So we're all old fucks. So
There'll be a whole separate club of us guys that are. No,
Hey, I hit
club.
75 in February, so
a bare
Oh,
child.
baby, what a baby.
Oh, you're a boot camper, Dave.
good.
I'm 68 and I'm still the kid in the room.
Yeah, by almost 2 years.
Actually, I think I'm the kid in the room here, guys.
Oh, you are. That's right. You are.
Show off.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody has to.
By the way, I just put up online also, if you want to grab it, www.jingles.org/WDRC in caps .WAV is all that local production, repeating the Big D, big story and all that stuff.
Wow.
I just uploaded it.
Where is it, Tracy? Where is it?
It's at www.jingles.org/WDRC, which has to be in caps, .wave, WAV. If you download that, you'll have all that production stuff from that era.
There it is. Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll tell you, man, what's really something. Somebody, I think Bud Fisher put up on Remembering Hartford Radio about one of the ads from the newspaper with the secret sound, and I just remember that kind of stuff where the contest that was part of it, but those frigging rhyming clues that he did that drove everybody crazy. I mean, that's what really made it fun, and that's and that's production. That's the stuff that made people really want to play along, and you don't hear that anymore. But I mean, the news in the making, the moment it's breaking, ear witness news. I mean, and Pat Sheehan said one time, the key to being a news guy on DRC, first of all, you had to get it done in 5 minutes or whatever, but making it hip enough where the kids wouldn't want to tune out for 5 minutes. So whether it was Vietnam or Woodstock or whatever, they'd always try to work that into the news stories too to keep them in there.
The birds.
Well, one of the great news stories, of course.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about news guys there. Do you remember Aaron Shepard?
Sure do.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Yeah,
He was
sure do.
he was the smoothest guy I ever heard do a newscast, and he never misread anything. He never made a mistake. It was like he was flawless.
Yeah.
Ron, tell you were there when Arnie was there. Know that.
No, I think he left right before I got there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got
really?
there in
Okay. I thought
yeah,
you were there then.
No,
75,
I started in
76.
70 part-time, and I did not work with Aaron at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
I
I
met
think
Aaron, and we had the
68,
reunion. We had
67
that
and
big
68.
reunion. He was at the big reunion we had in what was that? That was like 20 years ago. I forget how long ago.
Oh
it was.
yeah.
But the reunion up at the airport. Remember we had that?
Yeah, that was in 90. That was in 95. He was
95.
95. Yeah. He was there. That was I'll tell you, that was one of the great things that Frank Holler did. Frank Holler spent, and Dave, you were there, I think, right?
Yeah.
Putting that whole stuff together, everything. Frank
No,
Holler
I wasn't
really
at DRC at the time. I was out.
But
Yeah,
Frank spent months putting together that whole thing, and then it ran on the air for a whole weekend.
Oh,
And Frank Holler was terrific when it came to that stuff.
Yeah, everybody came in. I mean, Ron Landry was here, Joey Reynolds was here, and
everybody.
I remember Jerry Christopher, I think, was running the board on one of them, and I think he felt like he was lost in the dust somewhere because you got these guys that were just still such powerhouses, from the AM. But that was a reunion. That was something.
It was very magical that weekend. Remember?
Hey, that's Clark. Hey, Clark.
Does anybody have the Frank Holler tapes that you were just talking about, Ron?
I don't know. Tracy, maybe Tracy has.
He played some for
Walt
me.
Pinto has the whole thing.
Walt Pinto
again.
Walt Pinto has the anniversary. I don't know what format he has it on.
It's on the CD.
It is on CD.
Wow.
CD. Yeah, I have a copy.
He had one for every holiday, and he did some masterful stuff. He played them for me just about 6 months before he passed.
Yeah.
Great. Happy birthday, Ron.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We got about 3 minutes left, guys, just to let you know.
Hey, listen, man.
Number one and only.
There it is.
WDRC in Hartford.
AM and FM.
Oh, love it.
That's it. That is it.
That was the one. Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Was that the jet set? Pam's jet set?
Yeah, Search 27. Who did the announcing of over those things? Who was doing the production on those?
Who? Jesus, where's Ed Bruder when we need it?
I apologize with all the stuff I've sent out. I just got another. He emailed me, unfortunately, but I just got another note from Ed. He goes, 2 weeks in a row, I'm not getting the link. Well, now I'm finding out, but that's why I say if anything ever falls apart, please call me. If you don't text me, call me, because that will interrupt whatever we're doing, and I'm more than happy to grab a call if somebody's having a technical problem. But that was I got 55 different people, and he's been on since the beginning, so that was my screw up.
I
2 minutes, guys.
Yeah, I don't recall who did the intro to whose voice that was. It could have been Nettleton's, because he was there at that time. It could have been Jim Nettleton's
just
voice.
Curious, just for the sake of argument, just curious, because like I said, I mean, those were all dubbed off the carts once upon a time, and I happen to have a copy of them. So,
well, we are going to try to put this back together again next week. Hey guys, would you guys be all right? And only because I may be traveling. You guys all right if we did this one on a Thursday morning? If jump it a little bit because of the and do it on the 14th instead of the 15th. Maybe some folks could join us. I hate to miss a week. So
yeah, I can't do. I'm at the station Thursday morning recording. So.
Well, let me find out. Let me check my schedule and find out where I'm going to be at that hour. And unfortunately, my late wife's mom is very, very sick, and we're going to try to. She's living in one of those small homes where there's just like another couple of people, and she's really just beyond struggling. And we're going to go over with her name's Louisa Camazon. If you keep her in your prayers, she was.
Will do.
She was. I can't do it. I have a pedicure.
1 minute left, guys. 1 minute.
All right, but yeah, she was the real estate agent in the go-go boots back in California in the '60s, and raised her family on her own, and she did
love her.
People like with the Beach Boys with Mike Love and stuff in real estate. Great lady. So I'm gonna fly out for the day and fly right back for her 90th. But thank you guys, and let me take a look at the schedule, and I want to do it. I'll throw it out there, and maybe Chuck, this may be a good opportunity for us to try doing a West Coast feed.
Right.
Ooh, a little later in the day.
I remember you saying that, Steve. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, and then everybody else will just invite them back, like on a Thursday afternoon or something. If not, then we'll be back on the following Friday, which will be the 22nd. And actually, that's going to be funny because I think I'm going to be coming from a Key Largo Christmas. But if I got a feed down there, we'll make it happen.
You and Bertie Higgins.
Yeah, right. You guys are absolutely
good. Pete, good seeing you, buddy. It's always good to see you, Pete.
Same back to you, Chuck.
Yeah, just
you bet.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. So I'm going to get out of here so I don't torture Dave. And and again, anybody that has any of that old stuff, please send it out if you can. And I'll send out some of the stuff that maybe you may find interesting as far as like from John Ellsworth and stuff. And we are working on that Radio Hall of Fame. So we'll continue that too. And maybe we can get that going in 24. All right, Dave, are we good?
Are
God
good.
bless you all.
Yeah,
All right,
you
see
too.
ya.
You too,
Yeah.
Chuck.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Love you
Bye-bye,
guys.
guys.
Thanks a lot,
Bye.
man. Take
See ya.
care.
Your friend has got a lot to share.